I'm not even going to tell you if we're recording or not.
I can tell. Oh,
Dang
see?
it. Is it saying that it's recording?
It says on my side so people know.
Oh, mother F. Okay, guys, we just started. Hey, everybody, this is Ernesto, licensed marriage and family therapist and creator of filmit.com. You've seen previous videos that I've done with clinicians, and the purpose of that is to showcase amazing therapists slash coaches slash consultant, just like Tiffany. And guess what? I got her. I got her. I met her a couple weeks ago, I think. Yes, a couple weeks ago at Simple Practice event, continuing education event. And I saw her speak, and I was like, personal freaking branding. So I go to her website, and I saw this personality on her website, and that's what I'm trying to teach people, that personal branding. But anyway, before we get into this freaking discussion about personal branding and also money, let's have you know and see Miss Tiffany. Tiffany, talk about yourself. Talk about who you are. Let us know about who you are right now.
Okay, hi guys. You're gonna find out more about who I am as we go through this interview. I'm not super great at off the cuff talking about myself, but I will say this: I have a private practice in San Francisco, and I can talk more about my niche there if you want to. We can get into that. And I have an online consulting business for therapists called HeyTiffany.com, which I have to try to balance both of the two. We're gonna talk about what that's like today.
Awesome, awesome. You know, one thing that I also notice is, can you hold up your hands?
Oh yeah,
Look at her gloves. That,
styling.
that is badass.
I have a glove thing. I've been wearing gloves for I don't even know when it started, but yes, I wear gloves. You probably will not see me without gloves unless you're in my house.
But you know what? I love that because it's part of branding, and that's the
Huh.
one thing I noticed in your pictures.
Huh.
It's that glove. You know, it just reminds me of the whole 80s kind of glam look.
Yeah, I like to kind of go. I have you can see in how I dress. I like to do some kind of anachronistic thing. I think so. It's like melding times like 50s or 60s or 80s or 2000s, and also like as a person of color to kind of play with ideas that I don't know if folks would necessarily be wearing at the time. So mixing and matching, having a good time. I always do that. It's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, I just love it. So let's get into a conversation. So I was going through your website. First thing that I noticed is personality. And branding is huge in the area of not only mental health, but also with if you have a social media identity, right? Especially if you're doing videos. One thing that I tell people is show up. It's not that you have to be someone who you're not. You have to be more of who you are.
That's
So,
absolutely right.
and here's one thing that I wanted to ask you. Who are you, Tiff?
Oh no, who am I? This is a something that a lot of therapists struggle with, and that is showing up as their full selves. But also part of the awesome thing about being a therapist is that all of our work, both with our clients, but also on ourselves, is about showing up most authentically, being ourselves as much as we can. And so I think as therapists, as business owners, the best thing we can do for our branding is really continue to do work on our own growth and come to know ourselves. So I
Mhm.
realized in that I didn't answer who am I, but I think you'll get a sense, like in everything I write, everything I speak about, whether it's when I'm being serious, as I'm more serious on my private practice website and articles, or my Hey Tiffany, where I'm much more goofy and this other part of myself. All of it is me. We have our selves when we're with our family, or ourselves when we're with our friends or with our clients. And I think the more we can authentically integrate all of those parts and show up, then the better we're going to do for our own business. And also we're going to be able to attract the clients who are meant to find us and who we're meant to work with.
Yeah, one of the things that I have conversations with other clinicians is that when you want to be professional, when they're trying to be professional, that they somehow think that they have to throw away who they are. No, 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 no. Just because you're professional doesn't mean you yourself do not show up in your professionality. Your identity is made up of you as an authentic person. So what would you say to someone, a therapist who is young, trying to discover who they are and their personal brand? What would you say to them?
I think, well, therapists, a lot of us struggle with anxiety. We go into this field because we're in some way have been impacted by the field of psychology or had our own experiences growing up in development that lead us to want to help people. And so I think one of the things that holds therapists back from fully expressing themselves or getting in touch with who they are is anxiety about what are people going to think about me, fear of rejection. A lot of us have grown up and been rejected in a lot of ways over our lives. And so I would say this, and something that helped me personally, is this idea. I am not going to attract 99.9% of the people who hear me speak. I'm going to probably repel the majority of people who come upon me, but those 1% who do like me, those are my people. And you don't need 1% of the whole world. I mean, 1% of the world is way more than any of us could handle in online world, much less in our private practice. We only see, 12 to 25, hopefully no more therapists, people. And so we don't need to speak to everybody or reach out to everybody. I'm happy to be rejected by most people, because that means people who do come to me are the people who I can work best with.
Awesome. One of the things that I tell people is, if you are trying to be someone for everyone, you are going to be someone for no one.
That's absolutely right. That's right.
And you and I think, share that type of where you don't have to try to be friends with everybody. Not everyone's going to be your client, and it's okay.
That's right. Not only is it okay, but it's actually ideal. You don't want to, you cannot be everyone's client. There are plenty of therapists out there, so everyone can find somebody. Your job is just to be there for the ones who are drawn and attracted to you.
Yeah. So, okay. So a therapist who comes to you and say, I need your services, help me discover who I am. I need to build my practice. And in order for them to kind of develop into their personal brand, what are some of the things or questions would you ask them to kind of elicit that conversation?
I think the thing that I will start with anybody is really having a conversation about what they ultimately want at the end of the day. A year from now, 5 years from now, if you actually have, like, your day is looking just like you want it to look, your week is looking just like you want it to look, what does that look like? And then we work back from there. So even all the things around what's my brand or who am I? We can't say those things if you don't have a clear sense of your vision, who you want to help, what activities bring you the most joy. Like, I imagine going up camping or something with my closest friends and sitting around a table and having dinner together. Like, that is ideal to me. So starting to get in touch with the things we already know about ourselves and things we know we want. And then from there, we can actually start thinking about, all right, who are the people I best work with? Who am I in general? But I think it's less, I don't think it's that we don't know who we are or that we don't know who we want to serve. It's more that we're afraid to actually acknowledge it and then narrow that shit down and really work towards that specific person in the beginning.
Yep, absolutely. When I went to your website, I was so drawn to your story with your father, and you bring a lot of your upbringing, your personal experiences with racism, with poverty, with all of these things mashed into who you have become as a professional. And I was just so inspired by seeing such boldness and expressing that. Could you tell us a little bit about your story?
Yeah, so it almost feels like it's my dad's story, and I need to bring more of my mom in there too. She'll make it in. Mom, you'll make it in time. But both of my parents, my dad grew up in the projects in Chicago. I remember once I was watching 2020 with my parents. I don't know if I was in high school, junior high. My dad was pretty, he didn't talk too much about his upbringing, and if he did, he told funny stories. And so when I was watching 2020 with my parents, they said something about the Rockwell projects, which were one of the most dangerous projects in America. And my dad popped in from, I don't know where, he's like, oh, that's where I grew up. And I didn't know that. So he kept a lot of that for me. I was pretty sheltered from the facts about his upbringing, but unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, I was not sheltered from the trauma, the intergenerational trauma that impacts us. And so I think in a lot of ways, and probably why I ended up becoming a therapist myself, as much as I can know, or any of us can know why we do this work, had something to do with the ways in which I was aware on a visceral level of some sense of trauma in the world, hypervigilant, very sensitive to people's emotions, kind of on some level alerted to danger. But because my dad didn't talk about or was not in touch with his own upbringing, he couldn't put language to that trauma. And so it was just lived out kind of in a particular way. I would say similarly for my mom, she grew up in Oregon, kind of on a farm. So my dad's Black, my mom's white. There could not be more different. And she grew up in a very conservative Christian home with Seventh-day Adventists, with a very particular kind of strict religion. And so I